Welcome to the Bowmore Blair Castle International Horse Trials for 2003, a fantastic setting in the heart of Perthshire, Scotland. For the first time, this competition this year is upgraded to 3-star level, and as a result, it's attracted a top international field, many of whom are looking for that elusive spot at the Athens Olympics for next year. Bowmore's association with Blair goes back a long way. You must be one of the longest sponsors in horse trials.
Well, we've been involved now for 8 years with the horse trials, and it's just such a fantastic event. Here we are sitting in a beautiful part of Perthshire. The brand Bowmore has been growing very, very strongly over the last 8 years, and we like to think that the horse trial is growing with it. So I think it's great for both of us. Fantastic.
This year, first time at 3-star level, and it's really given an added injection.
Yeah, we're a very ambitious company as far as our product's concerned. I think we're very ambitious for the horse trials too.
And is this an association that's going to continue?
Well, we certainly we signed up for another 2 years, so yeah, certainly hope so.
We head out onto the cross country now to catch up with leading Australian international rider Clayton Fredericks for his view on the tougher tests. Well, Clayton, fence 8, and this looks to me like the first serious question.
Yeah, I would agree with you. We've just come up quite a steep little pinch, and then this is again back downhill. It's actually quite upright, although it's got some sloping rails in front of it. It's quite upright. It's the rails ditch sort of fence. In the old days they called it a coffin, but we're not supposed to call it that anymore. But realistically, the riders we've jumped some bold fences to get the horses going. As they come to the top of the lip there and start coming downhill, they've really got to get the horse on his hocks, really bouncy. I'm going to be imagining that this fence is about this high, not this high, so that I get a good clean jump over here and then just put the leg on and just press him out over the ditch.
With Blair being a 3-star, this looks a pretty serious challenge, even on the 3-star level.
Definitely, I think this is probably one of the hardest fences on the course actually. It takes a bold horse, an accurate riding. This first corner's very big, so, and the distance in between the first corner, from the first corner to the second corner, is absolutely set. And if the riders are tempted to just push for that stride, and they might just get a very big bold jump here and might run out of distance at the next one. The problem is you've got to get your horse's front feet right in that very small square in front of this fence, and if they're not there, that's when it's going to really put pressure on the horse to be honest. And you know, the good riders will be trying to just nail that spot right in front of this, but not nail it gunning too fast, because that will make the distance tough to get to the next one. The water fences always cause problems, you know. It's
why is that?
I don't know. I mean, I think it's a little bit of the unknown. Horses, we go to great lengths to train them to jump in the water, only letting them jump in, you know, very shallow water all the time. You know, some horses are just suspicious about going into the water. And also I think it adds a sort of third dimension to when you're landing, because you've got the drag of the water on the horse's legs, and when you've covered so much ground before you get to here, I think it's all starting to tell on the endurance of the horse. They're going to jump this big drop, hit the water. It's a matter of picking the horse up, keeping the engine revving, because we've got quite a big step up here, and then another big effort jumping over this log, and then it doesn't even finish there. Once they've landed, you probably want to just veer a little left, and then you've got another big jetty fence which is water to water, and that's always a difficult one as well. By the time you've sort of got the roller coaster effect of this fence, I'm sure you'll find, you know, some of the riders, hopefully not me, got their reins sort of going in all directions, and they're trying to just grab the steering back and putting the leg on and say that's where we want to go.
It's a couple of tricky ones, like the new corners. I think is influential. If everything feels good, I'm going straight.
I think it's certainly testing enough. We were warned about the hills, so I was expecting that. They're not as bad as I was expecting. There's lots of technical questions. I'm here to complete rather than to be a winner, so I'm going to take one or two of the longer routes.
It's not overly huge for a 3-star, but there's a lot of hills, so that'll take it out the horses, and I think it'll be a fair test.
There's a couple of ways I think I'm going to go the long way. For the rest, I think as well, if there's plenty of combinations, but I think genuinely if maybe something, was to go wrong on the first maybe element, there's still plenty of time to go some nice options.
The competition begins with the trot up. Blair regular Lisa Maynard shows us how it's done.
The trot up's the first time you get to assess other competitors and the horsepower involved in the 3-day event. The grand jury are there to assess the horses and check that they're sound. It's a very serious part of the competition, as well as a part to get dressed up and make the horses look very smart. It's a vital part. It's always a nerve-wracking part as a rider, because if you don't pass the trot up, then you can't continue.
As the chairman of the grand jury, you're clearly involved with every part of the event, and first time at 3-star here at Blair. How strong is the cross country?
I think they have done a wonderful job. They have upgraded the 2-star track, which of course is not the easiest thing to do. It's much more simple to go out and build a 3-star. So they have upgraded that. In my book, they have produced a real 3-star test. Horses that go the direct route and come home within the time or near the time are definitely ready to go on to 4-star.
Well, that's it for part 1, but don't go away. Rejoin us after the break when Ian Stark will be talking us through the all-important dressage. Welcome back. Next in was British team stalwart Jeanette Breakwell, and we caught up with her in her preparations for the dressage.
In the next sort of hour, I'll be out there mentally trying to relax myself and get him warmed up properly and ready for his test, and sort of try and be at the peak of it just before we go in and save the best bit till in there.
The girls have been working hard. I mean, he looks immaculate.
Yeah, I mean, the grooms do a fantastic job. I mean, it's all a big team effort, and, it's not just the rider, it's the rider, the horse, the grooms, the owners, everybody, and the sponsors. It's all a big support team. I mean, I've got to try not to get too anxious, because obviously if I get worked up, he'll be able to feel it. So, I've got to try and stay, nice and relaxed myself, so to try not to transmit it to him. But it's quite a difficult job, so I've got to tell myself to relax.
And I think what people sometimes don't realise is, you're riding a horse that's fit enough probably to run in a 3-mile chase.
Yep.
And you've got to get him to do something that we see in the kind of European dressage championships.
Yeah, absolutely. So, as well as because he's fit, he's still got to be obedient and relaxed and all that kind of thing. And obviously it's raining as well, and he's not liking that either. So, lots to think about, but, we'll try and stay chilled about it.
Good luck. Thank you.
About to enter the dressage arena now is Jeanette Breakwell, one of the British team riders. She's riding the young horse Highland Spirit. So this 3-star dressage, they have to enter at a canter, which is much more difficult because you've got to go from a canter to a halt to salute the judges. It's very smooth, looks square, looks straight. The horse's head's a bit high, but he was stationary, which is important. They move off into trot, and then straight away, once you get round the corner, into medium trot. So you should see bigger steps that you can see clearly the horse is working quite hard. Could probably show bigger strides, a little bit moderate for that movement, probably around about 6 out of 10 for a mark. And you come round the corner and into shoulder in, so the horse should be bent in the direction it's going, and then onto 3 tracks, so it moves sideways off the rider's inside leg. That looks quite nice, quite balanced, good steps, and then into a 10-metre circle. And then you finish the 10-metre circle and into half pass, which is another sideways movement, but the horse should travel across the arena to in front of the judges. So you should be able to see the horse's legs crossing over, the forehand leading. That is again very nice. Now we've got extended trot, so it should show maximum lengthening of stride. even regular steps, but a bit moderate, a bit lacking length of stride. So this is a young horse, Highland Spirit. He's only 9, and so he's not competed at this level before. So you wouldn't expect him to show a huge amount of extension. The halt there before the rein back behind legs were crooked, but the steps backwards were quite nice. And then again straight into shoulder in and the opposite direction. It's a sort of mirror image of the first few movements. Shoulder in, 10-metre circle. The nice thing is the horse's temperament's good. He's being very relaxed and he's listening to the rider, and off into half pass again, moving sideways and showing lots of crossing over and a nice bend to the left. And then this is one of the more technically difficult movements for the horses, because they've got to do extended walk, and when they're fit to run cross country, it's difficult to get them to settle. Sometimes they want to go off at the gallop, especially in the atmosphere of the main arena. But he's being very settled, showing a good length of stride. He's lengthened the neck, lengthened the frame, so the horse looks longer and the steps are bigger. And he's stayed very regular. The walk is a 4-time beat, and he's stayed very true and regular in the 4-time. And then we go straight into canter. Again, horses can anticipate that if they're very fresh, but a very nice strike-off for Highland Spirit. And then into medium canter on the circle, so there should be bigger strides, a longer frame. He's tipping a little bit on his forehand here. He could actually look more uphill. He looks a little bit green there in that movement, a little inexperienced. And then a small half circle and back to the track. And then we have to do a 20-metre half circle and counter canter, which is basically the horse turns left on the wrong leg, if you like. So he's leading to the right, but he's going in a left circle. And then once she comes onto the straight, she's got to perform a flying change. So the horse should change. True, good, very true. Swung his quarters a little bit, but a very nice change. And then again, has to repeat the same movement on the other rein. So into the medium canter. That's actually better on this rein. He looks more balanced. He's a little more up in front. So she's able to ride him a little braver. And then back onto the small half circle to do the counter canter on this left rein. Very interesting breeding, this horse. He's a full brother to Highland Lad, which is another horse Jeanette's just started to ride. Previously won Burley with William Fox Pitt. So quite a lot's probably expected of this young horse here in front of us. And then coming up to the flying change this way. Not sure if that was true, difficult to tell from directly behind, but looked smooth. And coming to the end of the test, up the centre line, and again at X, another halt to salute the judges. Good, nice halt. Again, his head's a little high, but great temperament, nice test. She'll be thrilled with that. I think Jeanette will be pretty thrilled with that test. Actually, a young horse, good temperament. He didn't get excited in the atmosphere here in the main arena at Blair. I think overall, nice movements, nice test, nice work, good result.
Jean, a top international field. How was the standard in the dressage?
Well, the standard on the early tests, there were some of them that were certainly, I would have to feel that they're horses just coming into 3-star, and then towards the end we got some very nice tests for horses that are probably more established at this level.
So after the dressage phase, in first place, Matthew II and Ruth Friend on 42.6, a full 5 marks ahead of Highland Spirit and Jeanette Breakwell on 47.6. In third place, a good test by Autumn Breeze and Eddie Stibby, they're on 50.4. In fourth, WP and Limbo, Clayton Fredericks on 51.6. In fifth place, Chatham Rise and the Italian Susanna Bordoni on 52.0. And in sixth place, Amadeus VIII and Maya Wegman on 52.8. Well, as we've been saying, for the first time this year, the Bowmore Blair Castle International Horse Trials is upgraded to 3-star level. Rodney, this morning, how are the nerves?
The nerves have been okay. I've got another horse up here that I've been show jumping, so that's kept me out of the way.
Do you have some kind of sort of superstitious routine that you go through before you get on?
I sleep. For some people, I don't know. If I'm nervous, I think I just pass out. So I just had a little kip actually.
Well, that's not very good for the young one. I mean, you've won badminton, you've been on the British team so many times, and still the nerves get to you.
I think when they don't is when I'm going to give up. At the minute, they are still there, so that's why I'm enjoying it. It's fun too.
And what about the course? I mean, you've got quite an experienced horse.
The horse has done a couple of 3 stars, but it's had a year off, so soundness is quite important for me for this horse. It's a nice 3-track. It's not a huge 3-star, but there are some fences out there that can catch you out. I think the terrain's the most difficult here because it's you don't know what you've got left in the tank. You know, you've got to get up to the hill, but you've got to come all the way back down. And there's some decent fences, so it's control and accuracy still needed.
We've already heard from a couple of people that they see the corners as a big problem. Where do you see the main issues?
I see mine from the horse I'm on is about the third last, the little coffin type fence. I think that's quite from light to dark. They don't see the ditch the last minute. They're tired, they could be running, they could be strong. That would be my issue for the one I'm on. Touched wood, it's been very honest doing corners, but we could have this interview afterwards and it didn't.
So all the preparations there, now you just get in the zone and get on with it?
I think for me, I just think of it as a job. You know, like when you're in the office, you work from 9 to 5. Well, okay, this is only an hour. But okay, all the preparation's been done by walking the courses so many times, doing the dressage tests, getting the horse fit, doing everything like that. So you're on and you've got to try and do the best you possibly can.
We're not going to see very many riders riding today in shades, but you've already had to overcome a pretty nasty hurdle before you've even got on the horse.
Yeah, I had to go and see the doctor yesterday and got some cream. I got some, whatever you call it in my eyes.
Conjunctivitis. Yeah. And nobody would anticipate that your children would be the biggest hazard to your health.
I think that's where they come from, because they had it last week, so I never had it before, and it's very sore, but
it's hit you bad.
Hopefully it should be all right.
So you're going to ride in the glasses?
Yeah. Not cross country probably, but I do everything else in the shades.
Okay. So all the riders will be out there watching you, and you'll be back to give them top tips?
Probably. Rodney was wondering about a couple of fences, so I think I should be back before he sets off.
We pick up commentary with John Kyle.
The 3-star cross-country course here at Blair was designed by Ronald Alexander and built by Irvin Bruce. There are 29 fences out there, over 5,300 metres, and the optimum time, 9 minutes and 18 seconds. Well, the first refusal on the course will give you 20 penalties, a rider fall 65, and a horse fall where its shoulder touches the ground is a compulsory retirement.
So that's it for part 2. You've got all the information, now it's the time for the tough action. Don't go away, rejoin us after the break. So welcome back to part 3. It's time for action. The start box here, the riders are about to be coming in. It's cross-country time. We've joined the cross-country with commentary from John Kyle.
Our trailblazer on the 3-star course today is Sweden's Dag Albert with Sir Walter. This horse formerly competed here at Blair in 2000 with Antoinette McKeown. They're heading away from the start now and towards the first, the Bowmore barrels. They're safely over those. And here they are at the Chaz Timber Yard Adventure at 4 and 5. Going well on this early stage of the course. Dag Albert heading now to the Land Rover Buzzard's Breakfast Bar. This road crossing fence, just a little bit sticky. They have to jump quite a distance up over that one. But in the start box now, Jeanette Breakwell and Chest of Diamonds. They head out towards the first of their 29 fences on this 3-star track. The Bowmore Barrels at fence 1. They head out on a dressage penalty score of 62. And now they have just 28 fences left. Here's Dag Albert up at the top of the first real hill climb, taking on the Orjay-sponsored fence. Eddie Stibben now for the Netherlands Antilles with Eton. They take on the Land Rover Buzzards Bar, and another one heading up the hill now towards the brunt of this 3-star track. Here's Jeanette Breakwell and Chest of Diamonds, just very sticky indeed over the first of those Orjay arrows, and she'll come off there for 65 penalties. See, she looks like she is going to remount and carry on. They have the option of carrying on after a rider fall. They have a maximum of 2 of those before they're eliminated. As I said earlier, and a horse fall will result in compulsory retirement. Just getting a leg up there from Mr. Tony McPherson, the assistant technical delegate. And Jeanette will go far enough back to give Chest of Diamonds a reasonable run in to this fence. It's here in the dark, it's sloping down after a long slog up the hill. There's a lot of questions being asked, but she's nicely over the coffin. Right, at the very top of the course now, our trailblazer for Sweden, Dag Albert and Sir Walter coming over the ski jump and down the hill. It's a real question of control here, coming over the horse and hound rails and on now to the WB Grieve Ruined Temple. It's a beautifully presented fence here in this small copse of trees. A bounce, the question being asked and answered by Dag Albert. And here our trailblazer takes on this new fence. The double of corners makes it look easy for the rest of them. Back at the beginning of the course, Tristram Hours and Classic Touch take on the timber yard. Because these fences are separately numbered, Tristram taking on the opportunity of looping back around the first to get a nice line into the second. The 2 fences come very quickly together, and on a less experienced horse, that's good riding. Dag Albert now, our trailblazer, taking on the Bowmore Harbour for the first time today, going the straight route. No question in this man's bravery as he heads over the jetty, and very nicely done. Well, reunited and heading over the double of corners, Jeanette Breakwell and Chest of Diamonds. This another fence numbered separately, so she too taking the opportunity of jumping the first, getting everything sorted out and coming back now to jump the second. She goes over that. Well, here now, we spoke to him earlier, Mountain Grove and Rodney Powell heading towards these Bowmore barrels. Whilst up at the top of the course, Jeanette Breakwell and Chest of Diamonds drop into the first of the 2 waters at the Bowmore Harbour. They jump up on the first. A little bit of resistance there. Jeanette just taking him out wide to give him every chance into this second pier, but not interested at all. Turns away, and Jeanette deciding to call it a day there. Dag Albert now at the House of Brewer steps. Very nicely up that, just absolutely seeing his stride and going for it. Behind him, Eddie Stibber and Eaton taking on the Willis Capically corners. This on an angle, these 2 corners. Oh, and Eaton just not really trying there at all. Just glancing out to the left. Eddie will bring him around now for a second attempt, but that is 20 penalties there. So over it at the second time of asking for Eddie Stibber and Eaton. There's a pair of our fence judges working very hard throughout the day. Dag Albert now coming towards the lower ward of the Malcolm's Locken. That distance there has been shortened, but Dag Albert making short work of it as he comes here over the last, the Bowmore barrels, and towards the finish.
Dag, you're the first horse round. How did it go?
It's a very nice course to ride. It's questions all over. You know, that you think, you walk it and you think it looks easy, but it's actually all up to 3 from home. It's quite a tricky one. And so you have to keep your brain turned on the whole way around, sort of to make sure you place the horses right, and but it's a lovely terrain to ride in up on the mountain here. It's beautiful.
Well, back to the on-course action, and at the OJ Arrows we pick up Anne Hatton and Cool Kiwi for Ireland, just coming through the coffin there. Whilst up at the Horse and Hound ski jump we have Tristram Hours, Tristram with Classic Touch. He's heading to what for them is the left-hand Horse and Hound stud rails. This should set them up for taking the long route through the Grieve Ruined Temple, but it looks like Tristram is setting himself back up to take the direct route, the bounce through here. That's interesting riding there. Rodney Powell and Mountain Grove now at the Bowmore Harbour, pushing onto the first dock, over that into the second water, and really riding off a seat now over the jetty and away. Anne Hatton and Cool Kiwi taking on the double of corners. There, another one going to loop between the 2 jumps. Oh! Well, Cool Kiwi making good his escape as Anne Hatton slightly disgruntled not only with that, but also the 65 penalties for the fall. Rodney Powell and Mountain Grove now at the steps, just eyeballing it a bit. Oof! Well, they are both okay, but that's going to be 65 penalties there for Rodney Powell, and actually he's calling it a day here near the end of the course.
Rodney, disappointment?
Yeah, it was quite
quite a strong horse. So, and I think there's a few fences he just got away with me, and then I got him back. But the steps, he just took it on. He just really just ran me into the fence, and I couldn't see a distance. And those sort of fences, you have to be in control and accurate, and I had neither, which is quite frightening at this level, I suppose. But he's just started to get out of control just about 6 minutes in. They're going to get a bit strong and a bit heavy. I think I just have to sort out the bit, because it's a lovely jumper when it does it. You know, it was clear up to then on a good time as well, but that's the sport, I'm afraid.
At the Land Rover Buzzards breakfast bar, and a little bit sticky, Anne-Marie Taylor and Nabatean Treat. They head up the hill now. Meanwhile, up at the RJ Arrows, we await Julie Robinson, an Irish skater, coming through the trees. They jump that first very narrow fence and over the ditch and head away. Anne-Marie Taylor and Nabatean Treat now over the halfway point as they come to the double of corners. Knocks the flag off the first, no penalties for that, just getting nice and tight. Julie Robinson, an Irish skater, the first we see today, jumping the Bowmore logo. They head away from that now towards the second water, and here is Anne-Marie Taylor and Nabatean Treat finishing strongly. Here at that second water, the W.H. Malcolm lock, and is Julie Robinson, an Irish skater, popping nicely. Coming in to finish now for Sweden, Hermione Brink and Spartan King over the Bowmore barrels at the last and heading for home. Going out onto the course now from the Czech Republic, this is Jaroslav Hattler with Kareny Janela's boy. Over the Bowmore barrels that take them out onto the course. Whilst up at the RJ Arrows, Pip Peters and Tierna Doon. It's Ireland's Pip Peters we see again with Tierna Doon at the Horse and Hound ski jump. She comes now to the stud rails fence. This question all about control on Ronald Alexander's course. Just getting him back a little bit now as they head into the Rune Temple. Bouncing nicely through that. Jaroslav Hattler giving it yards with Kareny Janela's boy over the first of the corners. Another one taking the option of looping before coming back to the second. This Jaroslav's first season competing here in Great Britain. Nicely over those corners. He heads on now towards the Bowmore Harbour. Elliot Newman and Clover Spring over the bees.org chicane. Here is Philippa Peters jumping up the House of Brewer steps. Plenty of vocal encouragement as she gets Tierna Doon around this course. Here comes Elliot Newman and Clover Spring into the Bowmore Harbour. Pushing on into it, taking no pulls. Up, it's a little bit greasy on top of that first dock now as Elliot heads to and jumps the second pier. Philippa Peters and Tierna Doon now down at the bottom of the hill, jumping the W.H. Malcolm Locken. And here she comes towards the last, the Bowmore barrels. She push them out to the line now.
Well, Pip, what a ride. The first and maybe the only horse inside the time.
Oh, God, I don't know. I was just riding for... I mean, he's such a big striding horse, you know. I just keep going with his rhythm. I like to push him a bit at the end. But,
I saw that.
Yeah, he can handle it.
And now heading into the double of corners, Australia's Clayton Fredericks and WP in limbo. Oh, just leaving all 4 feet on top of that one. There's no penalties for that, and they're very solidly constructed. He heads away through the Borderloo Starburst. And here is WP in limbo and Clayton taking on the Bowmore Harbour. And, oh, literally. WP in limbo up on top of the pier. Clayton very sadly down in the second water. But he'll be enormously disappointed by that and will no doubt get a certain amount of ribbing as well, having talked us through it. And a quick search for a stick yields no results, so Clayton not very happy at all. You can just see that the horse really didn't have its eye on its job at all, didn't pick up, and it resulted in an early bath for Clayton. So I don't fancy doing his laundry much. Up at the RJ Arrows and going slightly backwards, Lisa Maynard and Mendips Quinto. And 20 penalties for that, and Lisa calling it a day there very early on the track. At the Scottish Field Black Houses, Louisa Milne-Hume and Kingsbury. The overnight leader, Ruth Friend and Matthew, jumped the third. Whilst getting ready to go out on the course, the grand old man of Scottish eventing, Ian Stark, with full circle. Ruth Friend and Matthew really striding out now as they head towards the Horse and Hound ski jump. Dropping over that, they're going towards the right-handed stud rails. The next question for them, the WB Groove Rune Temple. Matthew certainly the most under control we've seen through these 3 jumps. Hops in over the first and out over the second element of the temple. Now a man who's ridden and been a medalist at every Olympics since 1984, Ian Stark with Full Circle through the RJ Arrows at fence 7. Matthew coming into the Bowmore Harbour with Ruth Friend. She'll be feeling the pressure now, having led after dressage. It's been a good round thus far. She drops into the second water and away over the pier. That's one of the nicest we've seen through there today. Jeanette Breakwell and Highland Spirit now at the RJ Arrows, taking on the right-hand arrow. Touch sticky, she's really having to drive them as they jump away over the coffin. And here comes that overnight leader again, Matthew and Ruth Friend, jumping the Roddy hang on to your hat. Here she is at the House of Brewer steps, giving some vocal encouragement, but Matthew responding nicely up those steps very well. Ian Stark and Full Circle at the Horse and Hound ski jump now. Dropping down off that, heading for the right-handed stud rails, just having to come into it a little bit of an angle as he gets everything back under control. Coming into the Rune Temple now. This was a fully fledged temple before Ian hit it about 5 years ago and knocked the roof off it. It's been a Rune Temple ever since and incorporated back into the course. Ian taking the long route through here, and very nicely done indeed. Jeanette Breakwell and Highland Spirit taking on the double of corners. Jeanette again circling between these two elements. Ruth Friend and Matthew coming towards the second water, the W.H. Malcolm Lock, and here very close to home. Just leaving a couple of toes on that second pole. Eddie Stibben now for the Netherlands Antilles with Autumn Breeze at the RJ Arrows. Textbook through there. Now at the Bowmore Harbour, Ian Stark and Full Circle. A big leap in there. Ian at the buckle of his reins. Just good riding there, gets him up onto the dock. And he keeps the pressure on to get Full Circle over that pier and away. Ruth Friend and Matthew, the overnight leader, jump the Pardavici fence and push on strongly now towards the last. These Islay whiskey barrels sent over from Morrison Bowmore's distillery on Islay on the west coast of Scotland. Beautifully presented on this course, built by Irvin Bruce. And she's home. Ian Stark and Full Circle jump the Atholl Estates timber stack on the turn, beautifully done. At the second last, the Pardavici, Jeanette Breakwell and Highland Spirit still absolutely full of running. Highland Spirit heading for the last. Should be looking for a good round here. Second after the dressage. It's all going to come down to time penalties. As we bring our cross-country coverage to a close, we'll have one last look at this fantastic fence at the top of the course, the Bowmore Harbour, and who better but Eddie Stibben and Autumn Breeze for the Netherlands Antilles to show us how it should be done. And there's Ruth Friend, no prima donnas in this sport.
Looked like a great ride.
Yeah, he was really, really good. I went all the routes that I planned to go. Gave him a little bit of an easy up the hill after the Bowmore Harbour and save a bit of energy for them steps. But he was great, really good ride.
Well, still in the lead, Ruth Friend and Matthew on 49.8 penalties. Second, Ireland's Philippa Peters and Tierna Doon on 58.8. Third, Jeanette Breakwell and Highland Spirit on 63.6. Fourth, Anne-Marie Taylor and Nabatine Treat on 67.6. Fifth, Autumn Breeze and Eddie Stibben on 68.4. And sixth, Clover Spring and Elliot Newman on 69 penalties.
Well, what a fantastic afternoon of competition. Top international riders and horses really competing at their best. The course, as we expected, proved a serious challenge, but there's still more to play for. Don't go away. Rejoin us after the break. We've got the show jumping. Welcome back to part 4 for the final phase, the show jumping. These knocked down rather easily, and I can tell you the rider's nerves are jangling. How are you preparing kind of psychologically?
I was asleep a minute ago in the sunshine, running through the course and trying to make plans of where I was going and how it was going to go, and just really sort of psyching myself up and preparing for all eventualities.
How are the nerves?
Not too bad, not too bad. Ask me later.
Let's get to commentary with John Kyle.
Well, the first horse we see today should be a masterclass. in this third day test. Ian Stark and Full Circle. Ian Stark, of course, ridden and been a medalist at every Olympics since 1984. He was also European champion at Punchestown in 1991. It's wonderful how these horses pull out on this third day of competition. They've had a second horse inspection this morning that they've all had to pass under the eagle eye of the grand jury and the veterinary delegate. I must say they're all looking splendid. Ian Stark keeping Full Circle on a lovely rounded pace throughout this course. See him just shortening him up here along this related distance to make the right stride into that, the 8th fence on this show jumping course. Turning now to this combination fence along the edge of the arena. 3 fences together. All stay standing for Ian Stark and Full Circle. So he's coming now to the last line of fences, this red and white, the penultimate on the course. Nothing to add thus far, and clear over the last as well, as we promised you a masterclass and none better to give it than Ian Stark. And now for the Czech Republic, Jaroslav Hattler and Kyrene Janela's boy, Jarda Hattler as we can call him, over the second. A very good result for this young Czech rider. He's ridden previously at 3-star level before, but this his first year competing in Great Britain, and with this horse, Kyrene Janela's boy, that he bought out of the European Young Riders Championships last year at Wiendorf in Austria. Very nicely along that line there. Jarda Hattler and Kyrene Janela's boy knocking on the door of the top 10. They'll be hoping for a clear here to secure that position over the 8th. They'll go along now to this combination along the edge of the arena. Some of the pure show jumpers may tease the eventers slightly about the height of the jumps they have to take on, but of course they're coming to it after 3 days of competition. Over the second last now for Jarda Hattler and Kyrene Janela's boy, and a nice clear for them there. A spate of 4 faults followed those 2 clears. Hermione Brink knocking the planks for Sweden with Spartan King. Julia Robinson and Irish Skater were next into the arena, and they picked up their penalties here at the very first element of the combination. Elliot Newman and Clover Spring, another to fall victim along this line, away from the pocket. Often difficult to get them going away from the entrance to the arena. They know their way out. Just having the second part of the double down there with Clover Spring. And the grand old man of the sport, Eddie Stibber and Autumn Breeze. Another one with 1 down in the show jumping ring, that fence 8, the one with the smiley faces under it, but no smiling face for Eddie. And Jeanette Breakwell and Highland Spirit, they picked up theirs at the very same place as Julie Robinson, the first element of the combination. Well, moving up the order and into the top 3, we welcome into the arena Nabatine Treat and Anne-Marie Taylor. It's really no surprise that some of our top 10 have picked up show jumping penalties. It is, of course, an integral part of the 3-day event, but not only that, many of these fences up to maximum height and indeed width for 3-star competition. Anne-Marie going well thus far, coming up this problematic line with the double in the middle. Very nicely down through that. Turning now to this related distance where we saw Ian shortening his horse a little bit earlier. Anne-Marie just holding everything together there for the 8th. And on towards the combination. The various trees in the arena give encouragement to go out on wide turns, but they are against the clock here as well. The speed at which they must cover the ground at 3-star level, a little bit more than some of them will have experienced thus far before upgrading. Well, over the second last, and a clear here will move Anne-Marie up to third ahead of Jeanette Breakwell, and she does it. Third or better. Well, a huge leap to start off the round for Philippa Peters and Tierna Doon for Ireland. Philippa, who's done absolutely everything with this horse, Tierna Doon, brought him on herself. They've grown up together. She's been on junior and young rider teams with them. Won a couple of individual silver medals at that level. Moving up into senior standings now for Ireland. She had a very good result, third at Chatsworth earlier this year, and was the only competitor clear and inside the time at the Gatcombe Open Championships, and of course the only competitor clear and inside the time on yesterday's cross country here at Blair. Lying second after the cross country, which means she is second last to jump. She knows exactly what she must need to do. Coming into the combination now. She's been in this position before when she was going for her medals, but the pressure doesn't get any less. Coming now to the final line, this red and white, the second last. Well out over the last. That's a good clear round for Ireland's Philippa Peters and Tierna Doon, and it keeps the pressure onto this lady. Ruth Friend and Matthew. They have 9 penalties in hand, which equates to 2 fences. 4 penalties for each fence knocked down. That's also 1 penalty for each commenced second over the optimum time in the show jumping arena as well. So Ruth has a little bit in hand, but we've seen it thrown away before. But as with Philippa Peters having to be second last in, as the overnight leader, Ruth Friend is the very last in. And all the pressure has been building on her all day. She's had the opportunity to watch those below her in this show jumping. Matthew just clipping a couple of fences down that line ever so slightly, but they're not falling. Down this related distance now to the 8th. Pushing him out. One would imagine as she goes clear that the tension doesn't get any better and in fact probably gets worse. Safely over the combination, just 2 fences left to go. Just the last to jump. She's got all her penalties still in hand, and she keeps them all as well. Our first ever 3-star winner here at the Bowmore Blair Castle International Horse Trials, Ruth Friend and Matthew on 49.8 penalties. Second, Philippa Peters and Tierna Doon on 58.8. Third, Anne-Marie Taylor and Nabatine Treat on 67.6. Fourth, Jeanette Breakwell and Highland Spirit on 67.6. Fifth, Autumn Breeze and Eddie Stibber on 72.4. And sixth, Elliot Newman and Clover Spring on 73 penalties.
Ruth, you've done it. You've led from start to finish.
Yes, I was absolutely thrilled with him. He's been absolutely brilliant. He couldn't have done any better in any of the phases, so really, really thrilled.
I mean, this is your first win at 3-star level?
Yes, it is, yes. He won here 4 years ago in the 2-star, so it's nice to come back again and win again.
Pip, what a result.
Yeah, wonderful. No, he was brilliant. I was really, really chuffed a bit.
I mean, you're only 19 and this is senior level, obviously represented Ireland at young rider level, but how important to get this kind of result at this sort of level?
Oh yeah, it's unbelievable, especially if I want to go on to maybe Olympics next year. I had to make the decision whether to hold back in young riders or go into seniors, so I just thought I'd go for it and see what happened. So it was a success, oh thank God.
Well, the culmination of all their efforts is the prize giving here in the main arena, and Kenneth Mackay on hand from Morrison Bowmore Distillers to present the Bowmore Trophy to the winning rider, Ruth Friend. Mr. Hugh and Mrs. Anne Lawson, who together with Vetsource Systems own Matthew, are also on hand to receive their prizes. Kenneth Mackay also presenting to the second place rider, Philippa Peters, who rode her own, and Antonia Peters, Tierna Doon for Ireland. And the groom's prize, which goes to the groom of the best turned out horse, went to Sally Goldsmith, who groomed for all of Eddie Stibber's horses. And finally, the best Scottish rider receives the Mingus Rose Bowl from Liz Mingus, and it was Ian Stark and Full Circle.
Sarah, you must be thrilled with the way the competition's gone.
Yeah, we're delighted. It couldn't have gone better. The weather's been perfect. We had rain at the right time, sunshine at the right time, a tremendous crowd, which we're all really pleased about, and Ruth is a very fitting winner, having been a past winner at Blair.
The build-up must have been very tricky for you, the big team here at Blair, because the upgrade to 3-star involves an awful lot of work and was quite a risk.
Yeah, I mean, people often said, oh, you know, why do you want to go to 3-star when you're 1 and 2 stars so successful? You know, Bowmore are always wanting to develop the event and just go one step higher. We were prepared to take that risk, and I think we've proved over the weekend that we're more than capable of running an event of this level, and that, you know, we've had the support of the riders and the public.
Well, that concludes a wonderful competition. We knew it was going to be tough. The cross-country certainly matched our expectations. Ruth Friend has led from start to finish with Matthew, and now looks to hope to head to the Great Badminton Horse Trials next spring. I hope you've enjoyed our coverage. That's it from us. Goodbye.